Headed inside, here's a chance. Yes! I tell you, they've only pulled another one back. Absolutely brilliant. We have a game on here, let me tell you.
So when you're ready, come on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, come on, bring it on.
Tom Ross's Goalzone.
'Cause I'm the winner, and the winner stays on, stays on.
On Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.
Hi, I'm Tom Ross. Welcome to the Goalzone, where tonight my guest is the Blues boss Gary Rowett. It's a year on from him taking over the club after one of the most embarrassing days in their history, the 8-0 home defeat by Bournemouth. With all the ownership problems in China and the dismal form that saw the team near the bottom of the table with relegation to League One a real possibility. The club then made probably its most important managerial appointment, bringing in the Burton boss Gary Rowett, who also played for the club under Trevor Francis. A year on, the change is absolutely amazing, sitting in the top six of the Championship, and a new air of optimism around St Andrews and amongst the fans, certainly about the playing side, if not the ownership saga that still drags on. Call 0330 6600 999 to put your question to Gary. Text your question to him by texting Ross to 87867. Facebook, just search for Tom Ross's Goalzone, or Twitter, tweet him at the Goalzone. It's Free Radio 80s.
Tom Ross's Goalzone.
Gary, good to see you.
Hi Tom, you okay?
Yeah, you found your way here again then?
I found my way here, mate. It was after that one of the greatest years of my life working with you, mate. I still remember where it was.
Brilliant. Now, what an amazing weekend for you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic weekend. I think it just shows what the Championship's about and also what any team's about, if you stick to your principles, really. But, we've come under, not a little bit of fire, but compared to what we've had it easy, really, for 12 months. And obviously to lose 2 games on the spin and then draw and not play particularly well against Blackburn, I think it actually shows the value of the Blackburn draw and regaining a little bit of confidence and composure that it then led to the Fulham game. But no, we were back to our best. And I thought, to win a game away from home against a good Fulham side, 5-2, and actually be disappointed we only scored 5 is a mark of the game, I think.
Best away record in the country, I think.
Is that right?
I think it's one of them, if not the best in the country. And a lot of fans do say, why won't we the same at home? But, it's the system we play. Does that lend itself more to away from home when teams have to take the initiative?
It does, certainly. I think, you look at any system. Listen, I'm a great believer in that. If we chose a very flexible system that we just felt like we were a better team than others, we wouldn't be sat here after 12 months with the same record. We've had to find a system that suits us. We've had to find a system that perhaps masks over 1 or 2 problems. And it's been very effective. It's ironic in some ways because when we first started at Burton, I think my first season in charge, we had the best home record in the whole country. And then the next season, a bit similar. We were very, very good away from home and struggled a little bit at home. I just think it's that people respect you more. People come at home, every team, or rather away from home, every team has to try and break you down because it's the nature of playing at home. When we're at home, teams can sit in and respect us a bit more. And I think the fact that we've been in the top 6, teams now think we're a good side, and that's a reflection of our success and just another problem to try to solve.
Is the manager, does he have a system, the manager, and I'll play that system whatever, or do you have a system that suits the players you've got?
A bit of both. I think you have to find a system that's true to how you want to play the game, but I think also you have to find a system that, listen, you're talking about a team that lost 8-0, so quite evidently defending wasn't the strong point on that day. So therefore you have to find a way to try to build confidence. And I think at the time the easiest way to build confidence is to try not to concede goals and hope to a certain degree that you can score them. Then I think, when you actually analyse the team, we've got a lot of pace in the team. So it lends itself really to leaving space. I think in football you have to create space, don't you? You have to create space to score goals and to win games of football. Mm-hmm. You either create space by having fantastic players who can create their own space, or you create space by where you defend. And I think if we get the defensive side right, that actually sets us up to attack. And I think that's been a big part of our success.
A great win Saturday, but I was just reading this. Looks like David Cottrell's injured. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Cots at the minute, he played against Blackburn, his first game back for a while. played very, very well. I think he's you know, we were just discussing it then, weren't we? He's probably our best crosser of the ball. Well, he isn't probably. He is the best crosser of the ball and set pieces as well. He's by far our best deliverer at set pieces, and we certainly miss him. But he came in the next day. He got through the game fine. It was his hamstring before. Came in the next day and his knee was swollen, and he couldn't remember an incident, couldn't remember anything. And sometimes they're the worrying ones because you wonder, well, what is it then? So I think he's one that we're just seeing if it settles down a little bit. He's been to see a specialist, or he's going to see a specialist. And I think at the moment the general consensus is that, you know, we need to wait till the swelling goes down, which is probably going to take maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and assess where he is. And then if there's, you know, if he's not right then we'll look at what we need to do further. But hopefully it's going to be 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe before we get him back on the pitch, which is a blow. You know, like we spoke
You'd
before.
be hoping for not surgery, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's the key. I think the key is at the moment it's just a case of, you know, let's settle it down. Let's settle it down, rest it, and see if it's okay. You know, I'm sure that he could go out and play if there was a game Saturday, but should it then get worse, then you're talking about possibly surgery. So at the moment, we're hopeful that that's the solution. He's not had many issues before injury-wise, and I think he's just gone through a little bit of an unlucky period. And for us with a small squad, we know that. We know that we've got to try and steer away from injuries, and that's just part and parcel of the game, and you know, we'll have to accept it if it comes.
I suppose surgery would mean a longer layoff, and that then, you know, he's obviously in the thoughts for France, isn't he, for Wales as well? So there's a lot to think about for the lad.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, like we said about our success at the moment, or relative success, depending on how you term it, has actually enabled some of the players to get recognised internationally. And Cots is one that was anyway. But certainly with Wales getting into the Euros, it's a massive achievement for them and a massive achievement for anyone to be part of it. He already missed couldn't play in the Andorra game, I think it was, where they celebrated. He was caught sprinting on the pitch with a supposed hamstring injury, sliding towards the crowd with all the rest of the players. So we were slightly concerned about that one. But no, you feel for him because I think he wants to be part of that, and not just important for us to get him back in our team. It's important that he gets the opportunity to be part of that Wales squad moving forward as well.
Great news, Damari Gray and England under 21s. But that brings problems, doesn't it? Because it just highlights him more for predators.
Well, I think it does. But you know, I don't think you can stop that progress. I think the only way you could stop the progress is if Damari wasn't playing very well for us and perhaps wasn't in our team. Then we wouldn't be sat here being particularly worried about the issue, would we? So I think at the moment, you know, we're all pretty much aware of his situation. Listen, you know, if I was being really honest, I expected there was a fair chance of him moving on in the summer. But I think it's come from him. I think his commitment has been that, you know, he wants to stay. And I remember having a conversation in the summer with him, and he sort of said, "Listen, I want to smash the championship. I want to be the best player in the championship. I want to score goals, and then, you know, if I get to the Premier League, I'll get to the Premier League." So I think really in his mind, it's let's use this season as a springboard to where he wants to get to. And I'm sure we'll all say if he can give us some success this season and moves on to a Premier League club in the summer, and we reap the benefits of that both financially and individually, then. You know, I'm pretty sure we'd shake his hands and wish him well. But he's really committed, and at the moment, you know, it's all been speculation really, rather than coming from his mouth.
Absolutely, but you know, he seems to have a mature head on young shoulders, the lad.
He has, Tom. You know, I said this before. I think a top player, you judge on potential, don't you? And sometimes it's not just the potential in their ability; it's their potential as a person, perhaps to develop. And you look for character traits, and I think most top players have that character trait of being level-headed and grounded and knowing what they want and being very, very determined to get there. And I think with him, he can see the very, very clear, simple steps. Play games, improve. Then when you're ready to move on, move on. And he's probably seen a lot of young players go to under 21 squads at top level.
Sit on the bench
or not even get to the bench, not even get that close. So, and let's be honest, at the moment, if Damari was to go to a Man United or a Man City, he's not going to play. He's not going to play, no. So I think he can see that. It's took a lot of willpower for him to not look at the potential financial rewards of those type of moves, and he's viewing it on his career, and that's quite refreshing to see and also to work with him.
Are you worried about January with him?
No, not really. Again, I've said this when we first come in. I said, you know, look, if we do well, we're going to have problems other teams are going to want our players. You know what? That's a mark of our success. So I'll deal with that happily. That doesn't worry me too much. I think with every problem, there's a solution, you know. And if Damari does brilliant for us, and let's just say he does move on in January, then I've been made aware that we certainly will have funds. So maybe that'll be an opportunity to strengthen the side further. If he stays, then again we'll be happy because he's a match winner and a game changer. So I certainly hope he stays. If I had to choose either option, I would choose the option of him staying.
Elliot Griffiths has been on and said, Gary, any chance of Tesha or Fabrini coming back?
Well, I'd like to tell you how close we were to those deals, but certainly the Tesh deal, it was virtually, it was agreed, and we were just waiting really. But I think every club has to do what's right for them, don't they? So at the time, it couldn't go through. Obviously, Forest, it's a very complicated situation at the minute because, you know, if they get a fee for a player, you know, I'm under the impression that for someone like Antonio, they might get 7 million, but they only get a replacement player in on a certain amount of wages because of the embargo. So I think for a manager, anyone of value, you're going to try and keep them in your club really as long as you can. So I certainly think Robert's one we would always watch and always admire. I think it depends on how much funds we've got. But if I had an unlimited pot and I could choose players that I would like, I would certainly see Robert Tesh as very high up that list.
And El says, which of the youth players are likely to break through to the first team after Solomon Ottabar, his rise to the first team?
Yeah, I think we've got some good ones, and I think that's the benefit of having a small squad, is that we have to fill the gaps in with some of the younger players. I think if I had to look for the immediate ones, I would say that, of course, Brownie's been in and around. He was on the bench again at the weekend. I think sometimes when your team's doing well and successful, they have to be a little bit more patient than perhaps they would be normally. I think Charlie Adams has done really well as well in the under-21s. He's been probably the standout player in all of those games. So he's another one that if I had to put him in the squad, I would certainly do that. He's turned down loan opportunities to stay and get his chance. And if I had to maybe dig into some of the other ones, I think we've got some good players. I think Emmanuel Mbende is one that we brought in, and physically, he's ready for the first team. It's just, can he do what he's doing in the under-21s in a championship game? Because
it's a big jump, isn't it?
It's a big jump. He's 19. He's come through the Dortmund setup, but certainly he's progressing really nicely. And we've got quite a few of those players, that are progressing nicely. And I think that rather than bring a lone player in for a month, I could have brought a lone player in about 3 weeks ago. We had an opportunity to bring a really good winger in, and we ummed and ahed, and we said, you know what, if we bring a winger in for a month, he's not our player, and Viv Solomon Otabor doesn't get in the squad. So what's a better long-term view? I'd rather get someone like Viv in the squad, because he could be, without putting pressure on, he could be a £5 million player of our own, but he's got to get on the pitch, and he's got to play, and he's got to develop. And while we're winning games and doing okay, I think that's the way that I would rather do that. And I think that's probably the most responsible way as well as custodian of the manager's chair at Birmingham City, for the club.
Let's go and talk to Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Tom, you all right?
I'm good. You're through to the manager. Fire away.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Michael. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I just wanted to ask if I could. Obviously, first of all, I just want to say, obviously, just thanks for what you've done, really. It's, going to the games was a chore and a slog before you came in, and we were leaving the house later and later, and to get there, and for me and my lads, been seeing tickets for a few years. So just thanks really for just making it exciting to go to the Blues again, more than anything. I wanted to ask about Nikolai Brock Madsden, if I've pronounced it right.
Yeah.
Obviously, you spent sort of comparatively for us for what we spent the last few years. You've spent a fair amount of money relatively in terms of what we've spent. The opportunities that he's had, I've kind of felt for him for a little bit because I think all the times he's come on, we've been losing, and to be honest, we just seem to have kind of launched the ball at his head really. So I just kind of really wanted to ask, obviously, because you spent that relative amount of money on him, sort of one, what is it that you see that he's going to bring and his role, and sort of two, really, if anything was to happen to Clayton for any considerable period of time, fingers crossed it doesn't, would you be confident that he could go into the team for sort of 5, 6, 7 games on the run, or would you look to bring in a lone player?
Well, no, it's a really good question, and I think I've sort of heard one or two people, semi-asking that question in the media. And I think the first thing is to sort of understand, without me going into the details, that, sometimes when you sign a player, it's the package the total amount, rather than necessarily the fee. I know when you put a fee in front of people, they go, "Wow, that's a decent fee for us at the minute." But when you put it in relative terms, he's probably no more expensive than some of the other players, like a Tesh that we brought in last season. I think our biggest problem we've had is that you're talking about Clayton. I sat there in the summer. I think we had bids of 1.5-2 million for him, which is amazing, really. Looking at where he's come from, his background, and how he's worked his way up in football. And I had to look at who would I replace him with if he should go, and I found it very difficult to do that for that money. So I think, firstly, he is a massively integral part to what we do. I'm sure we'd all agree. So what we really wanted to do is rather than have the scenario that we've had last year, where we had, Nikola Zigic, Wes Thomas. Who else were we had there? Lee Novak.
And the lad who was injured, who's gone out on, has he gone now?
Yeah, Denny Johnson as well.
Right,
so we had a number of strikers that, A, you can't keep them all happy, because that's very, very difficult, because some of them are seasoned professionals. B, we couldn't put a training session on without 3 of them playing out of position in an 11v11 game, which again was not very productive for everyone else. So we wanted really a young player, hungry, but could develop over time, that could maybe step in for a game or two, and then if he did well, then it would be up to him, and that's where we see Brock, and that's where we saw Brock. So I think the question at the moment is, unless Clayton's injured, I don't think anyone's there to replace him. Of course, we want Brock to develop very quickly so he can put pressure on Clayton and maybe take over for him for a game or two to give us those options. And the answer really at the moment is, he's coming into a new country. He's playing at a different level of a championship. It's maybe probably going to take him a bit more time to settle than we thought he would. And I'm still very hopeful that he could fit that bill. I think if anything happens to Clayton and we look at the options of Brock, I mean, we'll certainly bring another player in anyway, because we wouldn't have one striker that was fit. So that's really our thought process behind it. I know everyone's sort of banged on a little bit about why we're letting Wes Thomas go, because Wes Thomas came in my office about 45 times last season saying he wanted to play. So I think in the end, you can't keep everybody happy. Sometimes you have to move on with freshness. So I am hopeful with Brock. He's a great kid. He works his socks off. The one thing I know he will do, he'll come on a pitch and he will have so much commitment for Birmingham. Whether he'll have the quality to go and win us games and be like Clayton, we'll only know when we need to find out. And at the moment, we've not needed to find out. Hope that answers your question.
Cheers, Michael. Thanks very much indeed. I was looking at the record, and you've had a year here now, haven't you? It's just had your anniversary. Did you get the card?
Well, of Kirk, the club chaplain, I got the card. No, actually, to be fair to the club, they've been very good behind the scenes. They sent me a nice letter, thanking me for my for the year. And
that's a nice touch.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and they sent it to my home. My wife opened it. She rang me and said, "Oh, it's lovely that they've done that, and I think they put something in their little meal in Birmingham City Centre for as a bit of a reward." So, no,
that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I think that was nice, and I think the one thing I've
seen... now you've got to take the missus. She knows about it.
I know I have. She's listening at home as well. So, yeah. So anyway.
Last season, when you arrived after that 8-0, 34 games, won 16, drew 10, lost 8. All competitions, 47% win ratio. You lost Tesher and Fabrini, and yet this season you're 52%. You're actually getting a bigger tune out the players. And, 19 games, 10 wins, 4 draws, 5 defeats. Is that you having to work with them in close season? Because in many ways your team might be lesser a little bit, losing Fabrini and Tesh.
Yeah, I think we're a tighter squad. I think we're a tighter group than we were last year, because again, it takes time to get the right characters in the squad and to hone the squad how you want it. It's a really funny one, Tom, because I drive in with Saley. I drive Saley in, basically. That's really, he sits in the back.
You can borrow them headphones if you want.
Usually falls asleep. But we have a good chat on the way in most mornings, and we'll say the same. Wow, we've had a great year. At some point, are we going to have a sticky patch? And we keep going. So, I mean, in the end, what you say is that our methods so far are okay. We're standing the test of time in terms of the games, and I just think I think the players enjoy coming into work, and I think when you got a bunch of players that enjoy coming into work, but know exactly what's expected of them, I don't think you can undervalue that. Of course, we're going to lose games occasionally to the Hulls of this world, who basically just have, almost a Premier League squad, and Premier League players sometimes have a little bit more than your own players, and you just have to hold your hands up to that. But what the players have achieved over the last year has been, absolutely brilliant. So long may it continue. But I think it's them. I think we provide an atmosphere, and we provide an environment, and we provide a little bit of a structure to what they're doing, and then it's up to them to go and push through. And I think they're getting to the point now where they feel they can win games, and they feel like they're good players, and they know what they've got to do, and that's a nice feeling for a manager.
Fantastic. He's Gary Rowett, the Blues boss. Call us on 0330 6600 999. We'll call you back as well, by the way. Text 87867, put Ross your name and your comments. Facebook, search for Tom Ross's Goalzone, leave the comments there. And Twitter, tweet him at the Goalzone. Back after this.
Tom Ross's Goalzone on Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.
Don't leave it any longer to book for Birmingham's favourite pantomime. Over 80,000 tickets have already been sold for Aladdin at Birmingham Hippodrome. Starring Marty Pellow, Julian Clary, Lee Mead and Matt Slack. This all-star family extravaganza opens in 5 weeks' time. Aladdin at the Hippodrome, the home of Birmingham pantomime. It's all you could wish for this festive season. Book now at birminghamhippodrome.com.
I really like being a kangaroo. The sunshine, the open spaces and the pouch. I love having a pouch. But bouncing, that's a nightmare for a glasses wearer like me. I mean, I bounce, my glasses fly off and I can't see. So now I've got to walk everywhere. And that's not cool. I mean, let's be honest. Being a kangaroo is all about the bouncing. So where does that leave me? I'm basically just a giant squirrel.
Time to try contact lenses. At Specsavers, we'll give you a free trial with daily disposables or monthlies. See in store for details.
Find more hiding spaces. Asda's big brand toy sale is now on. Over 100 toys, including Frozen, Barbie, Avengers and Lego, are now up to half price. Because it's Christmas. Asda. Save money, live better. Higher prices charged in a minimum of 59 stores. Selected stores and availability.
Get ready for a clash of the titans as European Champions Cup rugby returns to the Ricoh Arena. Wasps versus the reigning European champions Toulon on Sunday 22nd of November, kick-off 5:15 p.m. 48 international players, 5 European titles, 3 World Cup winners, 2 teams, 1 thrilling match. Tickets from £15 and under 10s go free with family fun in the fan village all day. Visit wasps.co.uk. We are Wasps.
Welcome to Sounds Fantastic. What do you make of this sound? Yes, that's the unmistakable sound of the great crested grebe tap dancing on a bluegrass banjo. But what about this sound?
Go compare.
You got it. That's the sound that's telling millions of people where to look for cheaper energy bills.
Don't be taken for a fool when you buy your fuel. Nothing quite compares to Go Compare.
Sounds fantastic.
Sergey and Nicole Kidman go on date to movies, and now he's all lovey-dovey.
My heart is beating out of my chest. Sorry I spilled popcorn down your dress.
Oh, please.
We have so much in common. I think it fate. Fancy another cinema date?
Yuck! Now I know why it's called Lovesick. Take a friend to the cinema with 2-for-1 tickets from Meerkat Movies. Only when you buy through comparethemarket.com.
Tuesdays or Wednesdays at participating cinemas. Qualifying purchase required. 1 membership per 12 months. Terms and conditions apply.
Brindley, your local dealer for everything Honda. In Wolverhampton, West Bromwich and Cannock.
Brindley. The carburettor. The injectors. The cylinders. The pistons. The engine manifold. The exhaust. Every single part of your car's engine was expertly designed and manufactured to perform at its best. So why would you choose a fuel that isn't of the same standard? Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Performance Fuels. Actual benefits may vary. See shell.co.uk/VPower.
Tom Ross's Goalzone.
Life's all about variety. I don't just keep one flavour of Heinz cup soup in my cupboard, not when there are 10 to choose from. I'm never quite sure which one I like best. Yesterday? Minestrone.
The day before, cream of chicken. Next week, we could be talking cream of tomato. So tasty, so easy, and with less than 100 calories per serving, so hard not to feel smug. Britain's favourite soup is now in a cup, so I don't mind which flavour I have. But one thing is non-negotiable. It has to be Heinz.
The Heinz Cup Soup range, now available at Tesco.
Your most accurate travel.
With trustgroupuk.com for everything Volkswagen and Skoda in the West Midlands.
The southbound M6 has 3 lanes shut because of an accident between junction 7 for Great Bar and 6 at Spaghetti. Lanes 1, 2 and 3 of 4 there are currently blocked. The northbound side, 2 lanes are shut there because of a breakdown between junction 5 for Castle Bromwich and 6 at Spaghetti Junction. And in Leamington, you'll find slow traffic as Myton Road, the A45, is shut both ways because of an accident between Bridgend and Europa Way. So that's causing very slow traffic in and around Leamington Town Centre. Free Radio Travel, I'm Dan Morris.
Tom Ross's Goalzone on Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.
It's the Goalzone, and my guest tonight, Gary Rowett, the blues boss. Gary, just before we got calls and some other questions on Facebook and Twitter and all sorts of, I just want to ask you, you said yes to blues, and I remember I spoke to you on the phone and you were on the team bus, which I probably shouldn't have done, but nevertheless, the Burton team bus. But blues had got all the troubles with the Chinese and all that was going on, yet you still said yes. Why was that?
Well, I mean, I did a little bit of digging around that time. Spoke to 1 or 2 people that were sort of at the club and around the club, and tried to gauge really whether I felt as though there was an opportunity to pick it up from where it was, second from bottom. and quite honestly, I mean, I've said it in the press, and it is the truth. But when you played here, and I go back to it every single time. But an hour before kick-off, Watford, second leg of the playoff game at home, we're 1-0 down. And the atmosphere built over the course of an hour, and I'm warming up, and honestly, your hairs on your arms stood up and the back of your neck, and we scored after I think 3 minutes.
Had somebody sent off, didn't
Peter
we?
Unlove, yeah. David
And Mungo, was it nightmare?
Yeah, but to be fair, the atmosphere was so electric that you kind of. And again, listen, I was at Burton for a long time, and absolutely, I speak so highly of a club because it was fantastic for me. But sometimes the frustration, and the chairman there, Ben will say the same himself at times. You could play a top of the table game on a Tuesday night, and sometimes there'd be 1,800 there, and it was a bit frustrating after a while because you think, come on, show, follow the success with some numbers or some little bit of something. And I just needed to take the opportunity. I'd come to the point where I felt as though it was the right opportunity at the right time. And I knew it was a bit of a gamble in some ways, but also the club were taking a gamble on me. So, it works both ways. But, I just felt as though it was a gamble worth it if we could get some success. And I think, when you go down to Fulham and you hear 4,000 people chanting your name and chanting a team's name and just enjoying themselves and singing "Keep Right On" to the rafters, it's worth it.
You knew it was the right decision.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. Yeah, I know it's very simplistic to say it, but I have said it before that, I could have took the job for one game, heard the singing, and it would have been a worthwhile experience. Because for me, sometimes you have to take risks in life. I'm not the sort of person that wants to stay for 20 years and do the same thing. I like a bit of a gamble, as in, if it's a calculated risk.
Challenge yourself as well, of course.
Yeah, and I always did that as a player. I always felt as a player that, I'd always stay for a couple of years at a club and there'd be an opportunity to move on. And sometimes I'd always think, it's the next level, give it a go and see how you get on. And that was always me, and I never minded going out of my comfort zone. So that was the biggest reason for coming.
Let's go to Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Tom. You okay?
I'm good. Thanks for making it fun going down the blues again, because towards the back end of the season before you came in, I thought I'd just wasted like 150 quid. It was that bad, but it's been great since you've came in.
No, thank you.
But my question is, I heard you were saying about maybe trying to bring in some players from Sweden. Is Germany sort of in the range? Because we got a great player in Robert Tescher, and he didn't play for any top German teams. So would we be able to bring anyone in from the lower German leagues, or is that out our price range?
No, I think what we've done is, as soon as I came in, I sat down with a recruitment staff, some new recruitment staff that we brought in as well, people that I've worked with before. And it was a case of trying to assess where we are as a club, and it was really, we know there's players out there that are not in Championship sides that we can take on loan, and I also felt as though we needed to perhaps look for a bit more of a value market. And I think the value market, the players have to fit into your culture and your characteristics. So most of the stuff we like is, good characters, tough, want to run for you, good ability, which a lot of the continental teams have got. So really, from my experiences of playing, it was Scandinavia, second division Bundesliga, and possibly Holland, although I wasn't quite sure where Holland fitted into that scenario until we brought Michael Kiftenbelt in. So yes, Germany, Bundesliga 2 is definitely an area. I went out to watch a game last year. I went to watch the German Cup semi-final with an agent friend of mine who was Robert Tesch's agent, and went to watch Arminia Bielefeld against Wolfsburg. And it's a second division or third division German club at the time. There was 30,000 in the stadium, and it was an absolutely unbelievable experience. But what it did show me, there's some of the lower down German clubs as well. There are bargains out there. So it's difficult. It's not easy to find those players because, of course, you can't go and watch them 20 times live, and it's costly. But, our scouting group have been out to Sweden 2 weeks ago. One of my scouts went out to Germany to actually watch a Bundesliga 2 game at the weekend, and ask a few questions of people and meet a few people. So, yes, it is an area that we're looking at.
That falls in nicely with Junior 9, Blues fan Junior 9's question on Twitter. He says, has Gary got any loan players lined up in case of injuries, or are you happy with your squad?
No, I'm happy with my squad, but we've always got a list of players that we're constantly monitoring. So we've just had a meeting this afternoon, a recruitment meeting, and we've probably got about 5 or 6 targets for each position that we feel we might need to strengthen dependent on the financial scenario that we're in. So I think we always have a little bit of a dream list of players that should we, win the lottery. Tom, should you win the lottery and buy the club?
You've got it. If I win the lottery, you got the dough.
There you go. So we've got players lined up there, and we've also got players at each sort of level. So you always have to be ready to act. I think that's the beauty of emergency loan, is that this season, while it's still there, you can use that to cover eventualities. But I'm also mindful of bringing, like I said earlier, bringing players in just for the sake of strengthening, because of course you bring a player in, sometimes a young player then get pushed to the back door, so it has to be the right player at the right time.
Do you expect to do things in January?
Well, I'd like to. I think, I'm always mindful of the fact that if we're still in a good position in January, then I look at the effect we had last year of pushing it on. And I think that bringing 2 or 3 players in, it lifts the players, ironically lifts the players that are here. I think it shows a little bit of an intent to the players that are here, and it means they've got to play better to keep their place. So that's always an option. But I also think if you look historically, sometimes if you tamper too much with a good team in January and bring 4, 5, 6 players in, that can actually have an adverse effect. And that's we've done some sort of small studies of that. So we know what we need to do, but certainly bringing players in, the right type of player.
You keep saying attitude type of player, and Sir Alex was massive on that as well, that you had to have the right type. And even anybody that got a bit too big for the boots or whatever, he got rid. Even Beckham he got rid in the end. So how important is that attitude then?
Well, it is for us, because we know we can't bring in technically the best players in the division. So if we want to be one of the best teams in the division, we have to find a different route. And the different route for me is having that real synergy as a team. So every player has to turn up every game and be 100% committed. Of course, they need to be good players. We know that. And we need to improve that aspect of our game if we bring better players in. But at the moment, what I would say, Tom, is, the team, it takes a lot of strengthening at the moment in some ways for the money we've got, because, to get a team or to get players that can get us better than the top 6 is going to cost a little bit, or we're going to have to be absolutely brilliant at our recruitment. So
there's no secret, though, is there?
There's no secret, Tom. We know that. But I think, therefore, character for me has always been a given. I'd rather come off at the end of a game having lost, knowing the team has given everything, and I think the crowd would deep down as well, than have a team of players that you're never quite sure what's going to turn up because perhaps they're a little bit flaky or mentally weak. So that's my philosophy anyway.
Again, Sir Alex said in his book, I go to bed on a Friday and I sleep easy because I know what I'm going to get the next day, and that's what you're saying, isn't it?
It is, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. I think you also tend to mould a team in your own character. And as a player, I liked running. I was quite athletic. I always felt as though if I played badly the next day, I'd wake up and think, I've got to do better than that, and I'd try and do something about it. I'm not suggesting I was a big, strapping, strong centre half who would kill people when the ball was in the air, but in my own way, I would try to do the right things for the team. And I think you tend to get players in your own mould of players that will do the right things, for the teammates.
We got with us who we ask listeners to come and have a cup of tea with Gary. We give one the chance to come and have a cup of tea with you and a biscuit. And Jenny wrote in for a dad, Tony, who's with us today. And you've said alone you've had a cup of tea with him. And I think he'd like your thoughts on your plan B. Do you have a plan B?
Yeah, I think firstly having a chat with Tony, the sacrifice that he's made for his own family as a Blues fan is tremendous, So I think really I'd like to say that's take my hat off to him certainly in terms of what he's done. Plan B, we just spoke about it in there. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you lose a game, everyone thinks you've got no plan B. And I think if I look at games we've lost, we've probably changed 3 or 4 different things within the game, and it still hasn't worked. And that's sometimes you have to hold your hat off. I think what we're finding is more and more teams will come to St Andrews, respect us as a team, and try to drop in and make it very difficult. I think we dropped in against Fulham, made it very difficult. They couldn't break us down. So all we're doing is we're having the same problem as a lot of teams. We are what we are at the moment, and if we could go and find 5 or 6 different types of players, like you were talking about earlier, Tom, your kind of top-end championship players, then I think you can play any way you want and you'd still have a good chance of breaking opposition down. But for us, we've got to work incredibly hard to do it. But we work all the time. I think that the trouble we've had is once or twice we've tried to work all week on things plan B and we forgot to do plan A well, and that's an issue. So I think we've always got to be true to what we do, and then we've got to try to innovate and try to get better. If it doesn't work, then we have to try again on the Monday morning. There's no guarantee, is there, that you'll win games of football in the Championship. But what I would say is consistently, we've won games, whether that home or away. I'd rather win all the home games and not the away games. But at the minute, our team is perhaps a little bit more suited to the away. So we are working on the problem. I can rest everyone assured that we are. But, it's not easy when you've got a really honest group that's good at what we do.
Luke Turner says on Twitter, ask Gary, what response does he get from officials when Clayton Donaldson is clearly fouled but gets nothing from the situation?
Well, it depends which official it is. Some officials will literally just ignore you. My favourite comment is to the fourth official, well, if you're not going to ask him for me, I'll ask him myself. I don't like that one. But I think you've just got to, you turn up and after the first 2 or 3 challenges what's going to happen. I think we've spoke to a lot of teams have purposely tried to do that because they know how influential Clayton is. And we've also said to Clayton, look, sometimes, we need to be a bit clever and make better runs, but our players have to make better passes to him so that he doesn't have to fight all the time. And I think we did that better down at Fulham. And I said that, listen, you've got to give Clayton better service. There's no point just lumping. We've never said to our players, just lump the ball up to Clayton or Brock and just let him fight. I think that's just a scenario in the games when we're not playing as well. People see the lone striker and they think, let's hit him. We all know that when we've played with quality into Clayton's feet or down the sides into space, and that's when Clayton's at his very, very best. So Sorry, to go back, I'll digress slightly, but to go back and answer the question, I think you can say what you want to referees. Some are influenced by what you say, and some will help that situation and give Clayton free kicks. Some will just refer it as they see it, and if they don't get free kicks for it, then you know it's going to be a pretty long afternoon.
He's Gary Rowett, the Blues Boss, 0330 6600 999. That gets you to us. You can text 87867, put Ross your name into comments. Facebook, search for Tom Ross's Goalzone. You can leave your comments and questions there, or Twitter, tweet him at the Goalzone. Back after this.
Tom Ross's Goalzone on Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.
Need medical help fast, but it's not life-threatening? Call 111, the free 24-hour NHS phone line. We'll direct you straight to the right local health service for you.
This could be a nurse in a walk-in centre.
An out-of-hours doctor.
Or a late-night pharmacist.
Whoever's best placed in your local area to sort you out quickly. NHS 111. Getting you to the right medical help, fast.
Feel the warm sand between you. Dive into the... at a beautiful...
Ever feel there's something missing from your holiday? At Thomas Cook, we have a huge choice of winter holidays at fantastic prices. Over 90% of Thomas Cook customers surveyed rated our holidays as good or excellent, so you know you're in the hands of the trusted experts. All that's missing is you. Visit thomascook.com or pop into your nearest store. At All Protected.
Life's all about variety. I don't just keep one flavour of Heinz cup soup in my cupboard, not when there are 10 to choose from. I'm never quite sure which one I like best. Yesterday, minestrone. The day before, cream of chicken. Next week, we could be talking cream of tomato. So tasty, so easy, and with less than 100 calories per serving, so hard not to feel smug. Britain's favourite soup is now in a cup, so I don't mind which flavour I have. But one thing is non-negotiable. It has to be Heinz.
The Heinz cup soup range, now available at Tesco.
If someone asked you what the 80s sounded like, what would you say? We think the music should do the talking.
We are Free Radio 80s.
80s.
Why buy your next car from Bristol Street Motors?
Because our best selection of used cars ever now comes with this amazing offer.
Up to 5 years, 0% finance.
That's 5 years finance with no interest to pay.
So, with literally thousands of cars in group stock to choose from.
Loads of makes, models, colours and specifications.
All with 5 years representative 0% APR finance.
What are you waiting for?
See your nearest Bristol Street Motors.
Or visit bristolstreet.co.uk. Change for Life is all about how we can make changes to live healthier lives. Like just being a bit more active every day. Leaving the bus a stop early and walking the rest of the way, or taking the stairs rather than the lift, all make a difference. Getting the heart working helps reduce our chance of a stroke or heart disease. For more ideas to get going every day, search online for Change for Life now.
Get it straight from Selco.
Selco.
It's where the trade goes.
At Selco, we know you've worked hard all year through, so this Christmas we'd like to give something back to you. Selco has the remedy for those cold winter woes. Shopping vouchers to spend on turkey, beer and clothes. Spend, save and enjoy this Christmas with Selco. Spend £50 ex VAT in a single purchase at Selco until the 18th of December to earn points for shopping vouchers. See selcobw.com for details.
Get it straight from Selco.
Selco.
It's where the trade go.
Tom Ross's Goalzone.
Want to know your AER from your APR? Keen to master the meaning of a tracker mortgage? Got an interest in what compound interest is? Well, help is at hand. In the time that it takes to listen to this ad, you could get the answers to explain the banking jargon you've been baffled by. Just go online and search for Halifax Jargon Busters. Jargon Busters from Halifax. The people who give you extra.
Your most accurate travel.
With trustgroupuk.com for everything Volkswagen and Skoda in the West Midlands.
Southbound M6 has 3 lanes shut because of an accident between junction 7 for Great Bar and 6 at Spaghetti. Lanes 1, 2 and 3 of 4 there are currently blocked. The northbound side, 2 lanes are shut there because of a breakdown between junction 5 for Castle Bromwich and 6 at Spaghetti Junction. And in Leamington, you'll find slow traffic as Myton Road, the A45, is shut both ways because of an accident between Bridgend and Europa Way. So that's causing very slow traffic in and around Leamington Town Centre. Free Radio Travel, I'm Dan Morris.
Tom Ross's Goalzone on Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.
With Gary Rowett tonight. Great one, Gary, for you. Slogger 100 Blues fan says, I bought a jumper for every day to honour him. What make of jumper does he prefer? I'm going Pringle at the moment.
Is he going to golf? Is he going on the golf course with it? Hey! Oh, flipping out. What do you want me to give mates out?
It has catch on.
It
has catch on in it, though, your jumper. Because I mean, people like that, though, because it's
been quite funny, Tom, really, hasn't it? So but it wasn't a conscious decision to wear a jumper, so everyone would start talking about it. But no, listen, I like my jumper combo. I prefer it without the tie and without the jacket. So
yeah, pretty cash sort of guy, aren't you?
Well, you know how it is, Tom. You know, so I don't really like. I tried a tracksuit once on the side; it just didn't feel right. I don't know why. I really don't know why. It just didn't feel right. So
anyway. Now here's a great question from Billy Bond, who says, Mr. Rowett, very, very informal, that, you know, very formal. How long are you planning on staying at the Mighty Blues?
And how long am I planning on staying?
Yeah, well, it's a good point, because I was going to ask you, you know, listen, when you do well, we'd be stupid not to think people are going to be looking at you. So, you know, where do you fit in with all that?
That's a very difficult question to answer, really, isn't it? Because, you know, I could sit here and say, I'm really ambitious and, you know, obviously I want the club to match that ambition with the funds that they put in. But, you know, after leaving Burton a year ago, that would be a little bit arrogant of me to say that. So I just think at the moment, you know, I'm really enjoying the role. I think the staff really enjoy it.
Is that genuine? You really enjoy it?
I love it. Absolutely love it, Tom. Listen, it's a real privilege, isn't it? We know that, you know. And the staff, we've got great staff around us. Yes, of course, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want the ownership problem to be rectified, and perhaps
as everybody does,
and I think it's very simplistic to say that. But how long am I going to stay at Blues? It's a very difficult question to answer because that's not always going to be within my power. But all I can say is at the moment I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I've been given, and you know, I turn up every day and enjoy what we do. You know, it's a real, like I said, it's a real privilege to be Birmingham City manager.
I know you enjoy it because you're in early.
There you go, absolutely, yeah, I am. That's so I can leave early, Tom.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Pete, how we doing?
I'm all right, mate. Hello, Gary, how are you, son?
Hi, Pete, you okay?
I'm fine, mate. The question I want to ask you, really, but before I ask you that, mate, I'd just like to say I'm 64, coming up to 65. Thank you for giving us our club back and putting our pride back. Well, we never lost pride in the Blues, but some of the managers we did. Thank you for giving us a fantastic side and working with basically nothing. And the question I'd like to ask you is, Gary, how have you got what you're getting out of Gleeson and Shinnie? Because nobody else could seem to get anything out of them. I mean, I always thought Shinnie had it in him with the 1 or 2 touches he did, but he seemed very lightweight. So how have you got that? Is it something you've seen as a way you play them or the way you train them?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I think when we came in, we looked at how we wanted to play, the style that we felt would suit the team best, and then what you got to then do is put the players into the positions we think are best. So, people said to us, you know, Shinnie had played wide, and straight away you go, well, Shins is not quick. That's not one of his traits. He's not going to go and beat a player 1v1 for pace down the outside. So therefore, you can't really play him wide. And we wanted to play with a number 10, so he seemed the obvious solution. And when we watched him in training, the first few sessions, he moved really nicely, had a lovely balance to the way he moved, and he's a really clever footballer. So, and Glee's the same, you know, we wanted someone who could sit in midfield, give us a little bit of shape and pass the ball. And when you looked at the squad, whatever way you looked at it at the time, out of the midfielders, for me, he was a standout passer of the ball in there. So, again, we put them into their preferred types of positions. And then I think really it's a case of just trying to have faith in them, and I think we've done that with both players. I think Shins this season he's got competition in John Terrell, which is only natural that when a team does well, you've got to try to increase the options, and he's fighting for a place in there. But I think they've both showed over time that with a little bit of faith and regular games in a good side that knows what they're trying to achieve, they can grow and they can get better. And I think both players have done that consistently over the year.
Some fans, and you've heard them say, why don't you play 4-4-2? Why don't you play two up front? I mean, I've talked to you about it before, but tell the Blues fans listening.
Well, we did in League Two. We did in League Two at Burton, and that was quite simple there. You could get away with that because teams don't pass the ball as well. We found quite consistently that whenever the only time we've been able to successfully play 4-4-2 with the players we've got is if we're chasing a game with 15, 20 minutes to go, when you're not bothered about being a little bit open. We tried it last season down at Ipswich. We looked very threatening in attack, but we just simply couldn't cope with the space defensively. And we ended up conceding a lot of goals. I think we did exactly the same thing when we went to Brighton. Again, conceded 4 goals. So I think nowadays, my own opinion is that with the team we've got at the moment, if we played 4-4-2, that in the midfield area, we would get dominated numerically and with the ball, and we would find it very, very difficult to not concede goals. So that's just a scenario we're in, and we found that the system gives you better options passing because you've got 4 layers of players, if you like, rather than 3 layers, and that's just what we found. So I know there's always a clamour for that, but I can 100% tell anybody listening that had we played 4-4-2 for the season,
you wouldn't have a 50% win rate, would you?
I think we'd still be pretty much down where we were.
Keith, how are we doing?
All right, Tom.
Far away, pal. You're talking to the manager.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Keith. You okay?
Gary, I've been going on the Blues since 1971 and haven't missed a season. I'd just like to thank you for how you've improved things both home and away since you've been at the Blues. It got to a stage just under 12 months ago where I actually wondered whether I wanted to continue supporting the club. But you've brought back a winning streak both home and away, and I appreciate that.
No problem. My pleasure again.
Gary, one question for you.
Yep.
Brock Madsen, we've seen him on a handful of occasions when he's come on as sub. How would you say he's progressing in terms of being a future regular?
Yeah, I think
you've answered that, haven't you?
Well, I answered a question earlier that related to that. I think that at the moment, that's where we see him as potential. He is progressing well. And it's going to be up to him really how far he progresses as to whether he can take Clayton's place occasionally or push Clayton for his place. But as we know, Clayton's playing so well at the moment that he's integral. But we certainly brought him in to add competition, and at the moment he's working incredibly hard to get in the team.
Loads of texts and Facebook messages, but I've got to ask you something, and I want to ask you, how important to your success is your backroom team?
Tom, you know what? It's the one biggest thing that I always feel a little bit guilty about. Of course, something like this, I'm the one that comes on, and of course, as a manager, that's always a scenario. But they're so important. The lads I brought with me from Burton, and I have to say that the staff that are at the club as well already that have been brilliant. I've always said that I don't want to just come in and bring everybody in new. I wanted to assess the staff and see whether I felt as though I could work with them. And there's some really, really good people within the club training ground structure and also off the pitch, the likes of Julia, Joanne Alsop, people like Gary Moore, Roger Lloyd, all those people that are working incredibly hard to get the club back to where we want them to be, Panos, of course. But I think that the staff have been integral. I think we've had a really good journey together I say a 4 because it's the 4 of us have been together the longest. Of course, Darren Robinson's coming with me as well. Darren wasn't with us at Burton, so but the four of us have come in and we've got a really good togetherness. We have a right laugh, we have a bit of banter, and we work incredibly hard. So I think as a whole, the whole backroom staff, everybody associated with a club, it's really good. I'd say there's not another championship club that would have as strong a staff as us, and I think that's one of our strengths.
How's your marathon training going?
It's going all right, Tom. It's going okay.
I've been watching you on the chocolate biscuits tonight. Behave yourself.
Yeah, listen, I'm a natural, aren't I? I banged out another 10 miles the other day after having too many wines on Saturday night. But
what's the marathon? Which one are you doing?
No, it's called a snicker now, isn't it? Not a marathon. It's called a snicker. Oh, sorry, the running. I forgot what you meant. No, we're doing a London, aren't we? I'm doing a London for the Doyle family. Yeah, for Liam. Yeah,
for Liam
for Becky and
Liam
Colin,
Smiles. Yeah,
that's again. I mean, I know it was quite a
fantastic.
It's quite a funny one because not funny, but obviously I chose to let Colin go in the summer because I felt as though he needed to go and play regular football. But at the same time, I said, look, I'd like to help you because I've been touched by your situation family wise with your son. And they said that'd be great. So they got me a place. I'm doing it for them, and I'll try and raise as much money. We're going to have a massive fundraising, I think, in the new year with a club and everything. Just see how much we can raise, and hopefully I can crawl over the line.
And just I'm trying to squeeze this one in. Reece Brown, Chris Gray says, has he got a chance of becoming a future star?
He's got a chance. One thing I would say, he's got the technical attributes to be a future star. As with any young player, I think you're always looking for them to piece all the other side together. He's physically, he's not big and strong, so he's going to have to be sensational on the ball with his movement and his ball manipulation. He is very good. He's done really well with the under-20s. He's gone away with them again. And we are very hopeful that Brownie can kind of piece it all together. And he was on the bench Saturday, and I would have had no hesitation in throwing him on. So he's not a million miles away.
Well, I can only echo what the fans are saying. I hope you realise how much we appreciate what you've done. Seriously.
Listen, it's all my pleasure, Tom.
If it was up to me, I'd give you a 10-year contract.
Cheers, mate.
That's what Slugger 100 says. I've nicked it. Thanks for coming in. It's just flown by, pal.
It has.
I hope you'll do it again with us sometime.
Absolutely, Tom.
Thanks very much for being with us, and good luck, when you get back to action. Who's it first? Charlton at home?
We've got Charlton at home, yeah.
Fantastic. Good luck to you, and thanks for talking to the fans and answering the questions. It's Friday. I'm back at 6 with Matt Murray here on Free Radio 80s. From me and Gary, see you soon. See you at the far post.
Tom Ross's Goalzone on Free Radio 80s.
Free Radio 80s.